I woke up so grumpy on Sunday, and let's just say the morning was not it. And I was so frustrated with life. And I immediately started going down the list about all the things that I hated that was not going right in my life, that I needed to change. You get the point. Situations I was not happy with. Things I want to change. Things I want to stop. I was telling God everything I was tired of. This was all happening while driving, this whole conversation. And immediately I heard a voice say, stop being grumpy. Immediately I looked around, like I remember looking around, and I could feel myself pushing back saying, I'm not grumpy. And as it started to sink in, I was like, oh my God, I am being very grumpy right now. And there was a part of me that just wanted to say, well, I'm just being unhappy right now. I'm not being grumpy. And so the conversation of me complaining to God about what I didn't like about my life continued until I reached the parking lot. And it was so clear as day. And I literally heard him say, stop trying to make decisions while you're in the state. And he's like, after church, we're going to reset. Little did I know the very word that was going to be spoken in church that day was going to be my reset and change my perspective. There was one sentence that was spoken while in church, and they said this: do not let that one thing take you out of the path of your purpose and no longer be walking according to the will of God. As soon as I heard those words, I felt that deep in the pit of my stomach. I felt that. It hit home. It just hit home. Am I gonna let temporary circumstances determine the actions that I take and derail me and change the trajectory of my purpose? Are you gonna allow temporary situations to change your current plan? This revelation was so deep. Because how many times do we start something and then we get frustrated, and then in the moment of frustration, we start trying to change the plan, and then we start making plans that actually goes against the original plan that God gave you. We start trying to make decisions when we are in the energy of burning everything down. And I think it's very important to acknowledge those feelings, because those days are going to come where you feel like burning it all down and it's not going the way that you think it should go. The question you have to ask yourself is, when you feel like that, how are you setting yourself up for success when you feel that way? Because before that day, and God basically called me out, I realized I was in a pattern where it became like second nature, where immediately when I basically felt like crap, I would then try to be reworking the purpose that I had, and I would say, okay, maybe this is not it. We need to change it up, God. I'm tired of this. Like, let's stop doing this, blah, blah, blah. Just comment if you get what I'm saying. Something just shifted in me, and I hope this helps you as well. Challenges are always going to be there. And when I was sitting in that church chair, I remember thinking, man, I have to fight for what I want. When I feel like that, I have to fight. I have to hold a stance. When something is not going your way, you have to trust the process and believe that this is not a shock. God's not like, oh my God, this just happened. It's not going the way it's meant to be. No. He knows your story from the beginning until the end. When something doesn't go your way, that's the time where you have to be like, I'm gonna keep on going. I'm gonna stay on track. Let yourself cry for a little bit, but then you go back on track. It's not the time to rework your purpose. It doesn't mean that there's something wrong with you when it's not going the way you want it to be. You don't have time to go into a pity party and beat yourself up. People in outside circumstances will do that for you. You don't need any help to do that. Sometimes you're going to need to shift yourself. Sometimes you're going to have to do things that you don't necessarily feel like doing. I have to admit that sometimes I don't even feel like doing any confessions. I don't feel like resetting. I sometimes just want to stay in that energy of being negative and complaining to God and telling Him everything that's not working, because it's so easy to be in that mindset. It's normal, feels good. When you go anywhere, you go to a job or you talk to people, what do people do? Complain rather than trying to make a solution. It's so easy to do. Everyone does it. Most times, I don't want to read the word. And I know I should read it. I'm like, I don't want to read the word to feel better. I'd rather just stay in this energy. But you know what it does? It holds you back from the mission that you're currently doing, from the purpose that you're trying to see evolve. I was reading a book called The Law of Prosperity by Catherine Ponder. And one of the things she said is that it's so easy to think negative because it's the norm. And she's like, if you can think positive and say things that will build you up and light you up, why wouldn't you not do that? It benefits you so much more to think positive and think of positive outcomes and stories. And it's way better for your mental health, by the way, than to be thinking of what's gonna happen in the most negative light, and most of the time it may happen, or something that doesn't happen. Have you ever had that? Where you thought the most negative way, and you stressed yourself out, and then by the time the thing actually happened, it didn't actually happen the way you thought it was gonna happen. And then you think to yourself, why did I even go there and stress on myself, and that didn't even happen? Pay attention to your patterns. How do you react when you are grumpy? When things are not going your way? Or you're constantly grinding and hustling and nothing is happening. You're not seeing the fruit. How are you reacting? Because the quicker you could bounce back, the quicker you can get on the path of working on what you need to work on. Because the longer you stay in the state of negativity, the longer the despair drags out and it gets harder and harder to get out. Because then you start getting lower and lower and then you have to work to get back. That was me. I used to get in these states of depression. I wouldn't say really like clinical depression, but it was these states of depression where when I would get in that state, I basically wouldn't get a lot of work done. I would slow down and get just enough work to get done, to get by, that I needed to get done. And I used to have all these pity parties. I didn't believe that I had control of that. I always thought, okay, once I'm in that state, that's it. And one day, I had a coach and she told me go for a walk. I laughed because I'm like, what am I going to do? How is that going to help me by going for a walk with all the issues that I have? Do you know that going for walks has become one of the main things that helped me shift? It helped me reset. It basically helped me change my environment. It helped shift my thinking. It helped me get out that hump, you know, that way of thinking. It helped me get out that negativity and come back in my place with a new refresh of feeling like, okay, I can do this. And it helped me not get to all the way here. So if I was like, let's say, going here on the way down, it would help me stabilize me back here. It helped me to not focus on the things that are not working and focus more on the things that are working. If you are in a state of always looking at things that are not working, stop it right now. Because the longer you stay in that state, the harder it is to bounce back. And you lose time. One of the things my coach used to always tell me is that you have to recognize when you're about to get into that state. Because what you don't want to happen is that you stay too long in it and then it's harder to get out of it. And so she used to always say, like, when you see that coming, try something else, like change what you're doing. So if you're working and feeling that way, go for a walk, go to bake, go and cook, clean, go and wash your hair. Like, be prepared to do things that will help you shift. I have to admit, I never understood the purpose of those things because I was like, how could that help me? But as I started to do it, for me, it was washing my hair. Like, if I was feeling that, I would just be like, okay, let me go wash my hair now. Or I would go for a walk, and as I told you, I'll do other things. And I started to see how it would change my mood because it just takes your mind off of things. Now, my goal is that when I feel that way, like what I told you about the story earlier in this video, is to stay like that for a few hours and then bounce back up, get out that state and keep on going. Before this, I used to be in it for days. Now it's like a few hours. It's gotten better. Way better. The one thing that you could promise yourself from this video is the next time you're not your best self and you don't feel like things are going the way you expect it to go, is you're gonna make that shift so you bounce back up quickly and you don't stay there. But make sure you recognize it, but just don't stay there. You have more power than you think. Your circumstances does not determine your actions. It does not control you. Your actions is what determines your world and how you see it.